What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the full 90. Now it is time for the final video of the decade of 2019, the week 21 predictions of the Premier League. And before we go any further, I want to say a massive shout out to all of you for the support on the channel, particularly for the last month. We've gone up about 1,000 new subscribers, which is absolutely insane. I said in the last video that the likes we get wouldn't even get close to the ones on Christmas Eve because that was all full of Christmas cheer, and it actually did. We got nearly 400 likes on the last video, so you guys have been absolutely crushing it. So why not drop me a New Year's like on this video for the week 21 predictions. And I want to give a special shout out to Claire McDonald, who is a Tottenham Hotspur fan, who left their predictions on the previous video for week 20. So if you want to be featured in the next episode of the Premier League predictions on the full 90, why not drop your predictions down in the comments below, as well as the team you support. It doesn't have to be a Premier League team, it doesn't even have to be an English team. Which team do you support? Let me know down in the comments. Now, before we get into week 21, the New Year's fixtures, let's have a little look back at week 20. And it was a decent week for me, but it was very, very close to being a really, really good week for me. And you'll see what I mean when I go through the fixtures and results real quick. So kicking off, we had Brighton up against Bournemouth. I said that Brighton would win 2-1, and they played really, really well against Bournemouth, and they actually won 2-0, so not too far away. Newcastle Everton, I predicted a 1-1 draw in the end, but in my video I did say that was only because I'd looked at the stats and I was swayed that way. But I said my gut instinct would be that Everton would win, and I wish I did go with my gut because Everton got the 2-1 win, and obviously 2-1 Everton would have been the scoreline that I would have chosen. The next game, Southampton versus Crystal Palace, sort of the other way around. I predicted a 2-1 win to Southampton, and it ended up being a 1-1 draw. So close, but again, no cigar. The next game, Watford v Aston Villa, I predicted a Watford home win and a high-scoring Watford home win, so I guess I kind of got that right. I predicted a 3-2 win to Watford, and Watford breezed past Aston Villa, winning 3-0. The next game, Norwich up against Tottenham, was the little mistake I made. I predicted a 3-1 win to Tottenham away from home, and it was actually a 2-2 draw. Tottenham getting lucky to escape with a point there. The next game, West Ham versus Leicester, I predicted a 2-0 win to Leicester, but this was with the assumption that Leicester would play a full-strength team, and they definitely didn't. And I did also say in either that last video or the video before that Manuel Pellegrini would get sacked going into the new year, and that's exactly what happened. So a decent call there, one goal out, but Leicester winning nonetheless. Now, Burnley Manchester United, I was so close to getting it right. I predicted a 1-0 win to Manchester United, but Burnley were caught on the counter-attack in the 95th minute, giving it their all to try and get an equaliser, and United got a second goal. So very close, but the way I thought the game was going to go was pretty much exactly how it did go, so I'm happy with that one. Arsenal versus Chelsea. Oh, here we go. Okay, I predicted a 2-2 draw between the two teams, and I think, having watched the game, Arsenal and Arteta and the players deserved at least that. I think, given that Chelsea did score 2 goals, albeit luckily in my opinion, because Jorginho maybe shouldn't have been on the pitch, to 1, win the free kick, and 2, score from the free kick as a result of the foul that he drew. So I think a 2-2 would have been a fair result. I thought Arsenal played really, really well, but they lost 2-1. I was just baffled watching that game. I couldn't believe Arsenal walked away from that with 0 points. It blew my mind. I think 2-2 was a good score prediction, and I'm happy with that. Liverpool versus Wolves, I went for a higher scoring one, 4-1 to Liverpool, and I think had Salah buried that chance about 3 minutes in, it very much could have been like that. And the VAR, I mean, both in the Man City game and the Liverpool-Wolves game, I think they need to do something. They need to change the offside rule somehow to accommodate for VAR, because VAR essentially is just almost automated in the sense if there's any part over the line, then it's offside. But I don't think the way they showed the Wolves one in particular on TV really worked, because there was a line coming from the Wolves player's hand that was in front of the line, but then people are saying that was actually the line for the defender behind. His hand just happened to be there, but that would mean that if that's the line coming from the Liverpool defender, then that line's in front of the Wolves player, so it should be onside. But then there's people saying that a part of the Wolves player's foot was it was on the line. That is not that. You know what I'm saying with that. I just think that was crazy. It's the first time, because normally when I see VAR, it's tight offside decisions. I'm like, well, you can legally score a goal with that body part or whatever, and that should be chalked off for offside, but the Wolves-Liverpool one, I genuinely, even with the evidence of VAR, I can't get my head around it. But Liverpool did get the win nonetheless. I'll stop talking. We'll go on. We'll be here all day. And then my actually only exact correct score prediction, Man City, Sheffield United. I predicted Man City to win 2-0, a lower scoring affair. That would have got you really good odds as well, both of which I actually backed. A 2-0 win to Man City was odds of 7-1, and Man City win and under 3.5 goals was 2.25 odds. So yeah, pretty decent there. Moving on, we have week 21 kicking it off with Brighton versus Chelsea. Now, I think this is going to be a very, very interesting game. Brighton played very, very well against Bournemouth. Chelsea, not so much against Arsenal. Certainly in the first half, they came into it possession-wise, and in the end were able to create the chances that led to them winning. I don't think they deserved it. I think a draw would have been fair. Similarly for the Liverpool-Wolves game straight after, I think a draw would have been fair there as well. I'm going to go for a Chelsea win here, but I think it's going to be very, very close. I'm going to go for my favourite scoreline of the season so far, and I think possibly the most frequent scoreline outcome as well. I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win to Chelsea, just like they did to Arsenal. I think Brighton will put up a good fight, and I think Chelsea will want to start off the year as they ended with an away win. The next game is Burnley up against Aston Villa. Obviously, Aston Villa without John McGinn for a little while, and I think Burnley, they should be able to get a win here. I mean, they played all right against Manchester United, but to Burnley's credit, it was a very good performance from United, and I think Burnley will be able to bounce back here with a win. I think it's going to be a 2-0 win. I think it favours them that Aston Villa are coming into this in pretty terrible form, and I think they'll have enough to win here at home. The next game, Newcastle versus Leicester. Newcastle missing out against Everton, getting 0 points for the second time only this season at St James's Park. They now face Leicester, who will be rejuvenated because they played a second-rate team, essentially. I was very surprised when I saw the Leicester lineup. The odds of a Leicester win went from 1.9 to 2.6, and Leicester and both teams to score, I believe, went from about 3.5 to 4.33. So the bookies are like, hang on a minute, Leicester, they're not putting out their best team, but they managed to get the win. So congratulations to Leicester. That does mean they'll have Jamie Vardy, James Maddison, all these people will be fully fit. I know Vardy wasn't unfit. I believe his wife gave birth. A lot of drama involving him and his wife, but every time his wife gets involved, he seems to score goals. So I'm looking for Jamie Vardy to come back to the lineup and score a goal with a 3-1 away win to Leicester. The next game is Southampton up against Tottenham. This is probably one of the hardest fixtures that I've had to call this week. At first I was like, I could go for a 2-1 Southampton win here. I could do that. Then I thought 1-1, and then I wrote down 2-2. I was like, right, that's it. I'm deciding on 2-2. And Southampton, you know, they played well. They beat Chelsea. They drew to Crystal Palace. I struggle so much because Tottenham's away form isn't great. But Tottenham, the level of class that their players should have over Southampton is just too much to ignore, and they should win. I wish I had the balls to go for the 2-1 Southampton win that I originally predicted, or at least a 2-2 draw, but Tottenham should win, especially because they drew to Norwich. I think they need to bounce back. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win to Tottenham, but I think both teams to score here looks a much better shout, a much safer shout, to say the least. The next game is Watford up against Wolves, and I called it. I called it. The resurgence of mighty Watford. They're doing very, very well. Wolves also doing well. They played well against Manchester City, of course. I know they had the man advantage, but they did what they needed to do, and I thought they played even better against Liverpool. They played so well, and I think they almost, I feel like Nuno rested Traore and Jimenez because he just felt like there's no point risking them because they were just going to lose. I don't know, maybe there's some kind of masterclass I'm not aware of, but I feel like he just thought they were going to lose, so he didn't play a full strength team, because if Traore and Jimenez started from the start, that would have been a draw, at least. I think it should have been a draw regardless, but I think Wolves could have got something out of that game if they played it slightly differently. I thought they played very, very well. So although Watford are on the way back, I think Wolves, they're looking really strong. Really, really strong. So I'm going to go for a Wolves away win. Very good value here for this one as well. I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win to Wolves. The next game is Manchester City up against Everton. City, a little bit fortunate in the way they eventually got to their comfortable enough 2-0 win against Sheffield United. Sheffield putting up a very good fight in that game. Everton, they beat Newcastle away from home, which is something that only Arsenal have done this season in the Premier League before them. So a very good result for them. I think if it was anyone but Manchester City and Liverpool and the form teams, I think Everton would look to get something else from this game. But I can only see Manchester City win, and I'm going to go for a 3-1 win in this fixture. The next game is Norwich up against Crystal Palace. Norwich playing very well against Tottenham, and unfortunate not to get the win, in my opinion. And Crystal Palace, they drew 1-1 with Southampton. I think they also had a disallowed goal, which is the thing with VAR. It baffles me how many goals get disallowed. Like, a goal goes in and it feels like 50% of them are just disallowed. It's ridiculous. But I'm going to go for a draw in this fixture. I think Norwich, yes, they're looking favourite to be relegated, and Crystal Palace have got pretty good away form, but I think Norwich will be buoyed from their performance against Tottenham, and they won't want to follow that up with a loss to a lesser team like Crystal Palace, so I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Now, the next game is West Ham up against Bournemouth. West Ham finally sacking Manuel Pellegrini. I think it was about time. And Bournemouth, they're having a lot of injury issues, and they really didn't perform well against Brighton at all. Brighton just outclassed Bournemouth in that game, and I think West Ham are going to get a win. I don't know if I've predicted West Ham to win in a long time. I think they're going to get a new manager bounce, whoever's in, interim, whatever. I think they're going to win this in front of their home fans against a tired Bournemouth side. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to West Ham. Now, the next game is my game of the week, 8 p.m. kickoff on January the 1st, Amazon Prime. Watch it if you're available. It's Arsenal up against Manchester United, and similarly to the Arsenal-Chelsea game, this could go either way. I predicted a 2-2 draw between Arsenal and Chelsea on the back of Chelsea being in relatively poor form running up to that game, and Arsenal also being quite poor running up to that game, but Arsenal played very, very well. I think it's a game that we lost, but I don't feel any sort of, I don't feel annoyed at the players, I don't feel annoyed at the manager. But Leno made a mistake that led to Jorginho having an open net to kick the ball into, but other than that, I think Arsenal did themselves proud. It's a shame they didn't get a result. However, unlike Chelsea when I predicted a 2-2 draw, Man United are coming into this game going from strength to strength. They're looking pretty darn good. They're looking solid at the back, and their players going forward as well are doing quite well. Their midfield is almost, I don't want to get it twisted when I say Liverpool-esque in the sense that they're a well-oiled machine like Liverpool, but Liverpool-esque in the sense that when Pogba's not there, they don't have any superstars like Liverpool. Like Henderson, he's been playing really well for Liverpool, but he's not a superstar. Wijnaldum, you could argue, kind of is. James Milner isn't. Naby Keita, all these midfield players, they keep the machine ticking along very efficiently. And I feel like Fred, McTominay, maybe Matic if he plays well, they're similar in that sense. They're not blockbuster players. They're not going to wow you with, every game, but they're ticking things along quite nicely, and they're winning midfield battles, and that's what's getting Man United these results. And I think if Arsenal play as well as they did against Chelsea, I think this would be a 2-2 draw like I predicted in the Arsenal-Chelsea game. But I think Man United, there's something about them, and I'm going to go for a Manchester United win. Obviously, I'm an Arsenal fan, so if I get this prediction wrong, it means Arsenal got something out of the game, and that's great. So I'm hoping my little reverse psychology kind of works in this one, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win to Manchester United. That is going to be a cracker of a game to watch. And the final game is Liverpool up against Sheffield United. Sheffield United resolute in their defence and unlucky in the end, I guess, to get nothing out of Manchester City. And I predicted correctly that Man City would beat Sheffield United 2-0 at home. I'm going to predict that Liverpool beat Sheffield United 2-0 at home. Coming off the back of that 1-0 win against Wolves, Sheffield United will have obviously a very, very tight defence, and maybe they could score, but I think Liverpool will just do what's necessary to get the win, like Man City did, and I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Liverpool. So that is going to do it for the Week 21 predictions. If you did enjoy this video, like I said, drop me a New Year's like, subscribe today and turn on the bell so you don't miss a future video. We're going to try and hit 10,000 subscribers before the next season. We got Premier League, Champions League, Europa League coming up as the season goes along, and the Euros in the summer, so it's going to be an awesome year for the channel. So that does it from me, and I will see you in the next video very soon.